Hello everybody, it's me once again, Izzy, or whatever you want to call me here. I don't know what I got going on here. I want to show you a new thing that I've come across here, a new way of skinning these particular vehicles. I got to looking at the old way of doing it. The old way of doing it was basically you broke up your model into a bunch of different pieces, you arranged them all around in the viewport up here, and you save that through the rendering process as a bitmap. You can watch the other video, and then once you got the bitmap, you painted all those little pieces individually, and it took days probably. And then when you got done with that, you had to go back and break your vehicle up again piece by piece, UV map it, and UV map the coordinates to fit onto your bitmap that you made of all your shapes. It's pretty tedious. And I got to thinking to myself, why not just find some really cool pictures, or draw them or whatever, of like metal treads, even use real treads, like find a picture of an army tank, use Photoshop and just cut a piece of tread out of that and put that on the vehicle. That's going to be more realistic, it's going to look awesome, and it's going to actually pop out. You know, it's going to be like, that looks like a real army tank. It doesn't look like something that somebody drew in a cartoon. So I got to fooling around with that, and I think I come up with something. I think I come up with a new way of doing some interesting things. I'm going to open up a tank here called the Kinjal. It was modeled back years ago by a guy named TUngate. I think his name's Quintillion Borders. You might know him from the starsiege veterans website. So I'm just going to open up his tank because I've already been working with it, and I want to show you here. It's under the old starsiege crapola folder. There it is. It was called the Kinjal. And thank you, Quentin, for doing this for us, buddy. Appreciate that. You helped me get where I am today, and I may not be may not be anywhere, but you were there, and I appreciate all of you who helped back in the days of the SRC and the starsiege mods when we were trying to figure all this out. It's only now that I think we're actually getting to the head. Me and S10 are actually we're going to be able to do this, so we're there. Okay, so I'm sitting here and I'm looking at this Kinjal model here that he made several years back, and it has a lot of faces and has a lot of stuff going on. But here's this new way of doing this that I propose. Find you a cool picture that you want to use for your cockpit. It can just be a solid white picture. Sometimes cockpits are white and they got like a little dark tint to them. We'll find you a white picture with some dark tint, or paint one. Okay, and in other places in this particular vehicle, for example, like these little areas right here, you can find pictures of computer code. You can find pictures of some kind of cool lightning effect, and I actually have one like that I'm going to use for this particular video. And you can put them in those spots that you want them in. There's nothing stopping us from doing that. So all these years we were trying to break apart all these particular little tiny pieces of Herc and little pieces of tank, and we were trying to paint them, which was very tedious, when we could have just been dissecting this piece by piece and putting the pictures, whatever pictures we want, wherever we want them. So I'm going to show you how to do this right now. First thing we're going to do is we're going to go up to our material editor. Looks like 4 balls floating up here in the sky, and you'll see all these ugly colored balls, and you can select one of the balls if you want. If you want to just throw it on your tank to make it ugly, just go to edit, hit select all, and that selects all your shapes, and just, I'll make it ugly. Hell, let's make it green ugly. That's really ugly, but for this video we're going to make it red ugly. And now what we need to do is we need to hit standard. Okay, when we hit standard, it's going to give us a list of stuff here. We can do different things, but what we want to click is multi-sub object. Just discard the old material if you want, or you can just leave it red. I'm going to leave it red. I think red sticks out better than gray, and sometimes gray will confuse you when you're selecting different types of faces to map. So just hit OK, and you'll see here that this is already a multi-sub object. It's not a multi-sub object, but it has different material selections, and I guess he did that when he created it, because you'll see the grays and then you'll see the reds, and that means there's 2 materials at work here. That's okay, because we're going to use two materials here in just a minute. So what we did a multi-sub object, and then it automatically gives you 10. So we have 10 different materials here. You can use as many as you want, but however many pictures you have, just set that to the number. So I'm going to set it to 2, because I'm only going to use 2 pictures for right now to show you how to do this. So I got 2 pictures right here. So my first material, number 1, I'm going to call it metal. Second material, number 2, I'm going to call it lightning or something. Just light. Light's cool. So I'm going to select material 1, and right here where it says diffuse, I'm going to select that little piece beside it, and I'm going to select bitmap. Right here where it's blank, it says bitmap and it's blank. I want you to go over to wherever it is you're keeping your bitmaps at. Mine is like really annoying to get to. It's down here in the desktop, which anybody who has Windows 7 probably hates it like I do. And I'm going to find the one that says metal bitmap. You'll see it up there. You see how cool that looks? It's a really cool metal looking bitmap. Now here's the tricky part. Go back up where it says map number 2 and go back to material 1. And that'll take you back to where you can select your next one. And go where it says light and hit diffuse, bitmap, where blank is, and I'm going to add the light now. Okay? Lights up is what it's called. Fire it up. Alright, so now I have this one. So I'm going to go back up to material 1, and you're going to see 2 materials on that ball. There's the light, and there's the metal. They're both there right now. Okay, so now I have a multi-material object here that I've created, a multi-material sphere. I'm just going to add that to my this tank here. So I'm going to hit this little button here that looks like a box with a ball. It says assign material to the selection. Okay? Make sure I got everything selected first. Alrighty. So I have assigned a material to the selection. And one thing I will say that I have noticed about this process is that for some reason it doesn't render well in the perspective viewport. And I don't know why, but if we go up here and we render it, oh, it's because there was, I guess when he made this tank, he put coordinates on it. He did. He had his own coordinates. Okay, that's fine. So what we need to do now, we're going to move on. We've got our multi-sub object created. We've got our everything we need done. I'm just going to edit and select everything in here. And the way to get his coordinates off is just to UV map it. So when I UV map it, it should, actually unwrap UVW. When I UV map the object, it should actually remove the coordinates that's on it, and that's fine. Anyway, what I want to do now here is we're going to start selecting some faces on this particular vehicle here. And I am going to start in the front viewport here with this body. And the first thing I want to do is I want to go to mesh select. And I'm just going to select this little hole in the front, and I'm going to select this too. Nah, I want it to look cool. I'm not going to select the hole in the front yet. I'm going to select this and this and this. Actually, I'm going to select all this stuff just because it's all cool. Anywho, then what I'm going to do after I get my selection is I'm going to go over here and I'm going to UVW map it. And in order to do that, I need to figure out the alignment. If you look up here in the front viewport right now, you'll see there's a straight line across that. Well, that's because it's on the wrong axis. Right here where it says alignment, you change that to Y, and you'll notice now it's a great big square. That's what we want. Hit fit, and you'll notice that it narrows it down right to your selection. We have fit that on a plane of your scale, basically. Just kind of like putting a piece of fly paper over something and ripping it off. and then whatever you ripped off on the back of the flypaper, if that makes sense. So we've got that fit now. So what we need to do is go over here to the UVW map, or the unwrap UVW, okay? And we need to edit that. So let's go ahead and edit it. And that's what we picked. There it is. So let's go ahead and pick a map for that. And let's go to our material editor or library. Either one should have it, but editor for right now. And I want to use the metal. There's our metal that we selected earlier. Use metal. And you can arrange this any way you want to for your particular vehicle, whatever you're doing. For example, if you've got a bunch of vents on here and you want vents all over your map, you can select like these and just go down here and move them where the vents are if you want to. And see how I'm doing this? Well, I can select that and I can put that over here where the vent is, and now it will have a vent and it will be cool. After you edit this, sometimes you may have more than one thing that's the same thing. For example, or you'll have like two pieces in your selection that are the same size. Basically, you're like, I want them both to have a vent. All you got to do is just copy them over top of each other and put it on your particular bitmap where you want it to be. And that's pretty much it. It's pretty easy. So after you make your selection, just hit update, close that out. Let's take a look at our rendering here on the top viewport. Let's see what we come up with. Okay. Well, we can definitely see here we've got some metal objects going around. We got the metal part here going around the area that we selected. But what we want to do is, I don't like these lines. I don't know. So we need to figure out where all those lines are coming from. So we're going to take another look back at our unwrap UVW. We're going to take another look to see what's going on. The lines are coming from where we moved that. Okay, so I don't like the lines, so I'm going to move that away from there because I do not like the lines at all. And I may just make it sit over here like this just where it's cool looking or something, or just move it wherever you want, or use whatever bitmap you think's cool. Starsiege is mainly just repetition of colors. I mean, think about the APOC. It's just gray with some red trim. You can do it this way. It's so much simpler to do it this way, and it looks so much better. So hit update, close that out, and let's render it now, and you'll see that the lines should be better. Actually, they're still there, so I've got another issue somewhere with a part that I need to move or reposition. But I'll show you a trick. Let's just say I didn't want to use that there, that particular bitmap. Well, how do you change it? You go to over here where it says material. And if you don't have a material button, what you do is you go up here to where it says sets and etc. and you add the material button. You have two materials in your multi-sub material. So you go to material and just change this material ID to 2. It's simple. Now go to track view. Open your track view. Oh, I'm sorry. God, I'm way off. I'm building Hercs again. I'm sorry. Go to render, open render, and you should see the lightning in the place of where we just had that other stuff at. I like this because look at the detail around where the cockpit is. That is wild. But you could get in there and you could work with this, and you could reposition, slowly reposition some of these to fit in these bitmaps, and you could probably make some awesome shapes. After I practice with this a little bit more, I am actually going to try to get it to where we can make different skins out of a multi-sub object. For example, like if you wanted to make your own skin and you didn't have 3D Max, that you could, and it would work in the game. Or we may add like a whole bunch of different really cool bitmaps into a folder with the DTS file. But once you get done with whatever you're doing, you're done with those faces, you've got your stuff the way you like it, just hit smooth. Don't hit mesh smooth. Don't hit mesh smooth, hit smooth. Mesh smooth will mess it all up. Okay, I'll show you another example right here. We've got these two cool looking vents on top. Alright, so what we're going to do here is we're going to hit mesh select. I'm going to select these cool vents. Well, first thing I need to do is hit smooth again and select the head. So now I'm going to hit mesh select and I'm going to select these cool vents on top. They're cool. I'm going to put vents in them. So what I'm going to do now is I am going to go over and I'm going to give them a UVW map. So I am going to UVW map them and I'm going to go down and I see my line here that I was telling you about earlier. It's going across, but it's just the wrong way, so I need to make it where there's a square. Now there's a little rectangle there and I need to hit fit. When I hit fit, it encompasses the whole thing. And now I need to unwrap that UVW and hit edit, and boom, there's my two sides right there. Pick my map, and I'm going to use the metal map. There's the metal map. So what I need to do is I want to kind of edit these both at the same time, so I'm going to just pick the whole top vertices here, and I'm going to narrow those down a little bit about this size. If you notice, these are both about the same size, and I am actually going to just copy one right over top of the other and do them both at the same time. Just make them square. You can do that. It won't hurt a thing. All we're going to do is just reposition them over top of that vent. I am going to make them a little taller. And then what I'm going to do here is I'm going to put that one right over top of that other one. You see how I did that? Now, I know they're the wrong orientation because that vent's sideways and these are up and down. So I need to just rotate that on the side. So I'm going to rotate over on the side like this. And then I'm just going to move it right up there to where that vent is to make it look cool. And then when I do that, I hit update, close it, and you ready? I'm going to render it. And when I render it, we should have a vent on each side. Look at there. Vent on each side. Boom. And those coordinates will stay. They will actually be in starsiege, and it'll look exactly the way you do it when you get done. Just zoom in there and do your stuff, man. And we're going to have some really cool stuff coming out soon. We're going to have some amazing looking vehicles. We're going to have some awesome stuff. Look at that. Could you imagine that? And like I said, you could get you a texture for your cockpit there. You could get some kind of white or gray or even shiny metallic. And we're also finding out that all the max modifiers for the textures work. So we could have, you know, shiny, we could have glow effects where the cockpit glows, you know, the glass glows, and that's pretty easy. So this is how you do this, and I think it's cool. And it's an easy way to make some really, really, really cool textures for starsiege. I hope you like my video, man. Thanks a lot for watching, and appreciate everybody's work and all their help.